Well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for an update from the Lee County Emergency Operations Center on Tropical Storm Idalia. Monitoring a tropical storm is definitely a critical thing to do, as we know that this one will pass off of our coast here in Lee County. So effective now at 1 o'clock, our Emergency Operations Center is shifting to a level 2 activation. This means heightened monitoring and more regularly scheduled briefings like this one with you all and our partners at the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the National Hurricane Center, and the National Weather Service, as well as our local Emergency Operations Center partners. As you may have heard, Lee County is included in the Governor's executive order. So, effective this afternoon, our county is under a state of local emergency. This state of local emergency has been signed, I signed it just a few minutes ago, and is issued in an abundance of caution. It is a necessary step to ensure that the county can receive reimbursement should any damage occur from this storm. We do this with every storm, and each storm needs to have its own state of local emergency. So what do we expect to happen? Well, what we expect to happen is what the National Hurricane Center forecast says will happen, that the storm will stay off of Lee County's coast. We're planning for indirect impacts right now. The tropical storm force winds across communities that are trying to recover from Ian. So as we know, many of our homes, many of our residents are still recovering from Hurricane Ian, and we could see impacts there because of this storm as it passes close by our coast. The storm is moving fast. Even though it will be for a short duration, we are prepared to address any of the needs that the community may have. I want to be clear, there are no evacuation orders in place right now. We do not anticipate making any evacuation orders based on the current forecast of the storm. Lee County recognizes that after Hurricane Ian, some residents could be more susceptible to impacts than a typical tropical event. And so the county is planning to assist those residents as necessary, and we're prepared to respond operationally. We'll be opening 2 safe havens this evening. These are not shelters. They are a safe place for anyone who does not feel secure in their housing situation. So if you're living in a Hurricane Ian damaged home or a trailer or a motorhome, you'll have a place to go at one of these safe havens that will open up. We will announce the location of these safe havens and these sites at a later date this evening when they open up. That announcement will be made at 5:30, so you'll want to come back to check for those locations at that time. For now, we encourage you to take the following steps to prepare for this storm event. Have a look at your family emergency plan and your emergency supply kit. Identify where you will go if you're in a home that you don't feel safe riding out a storm in, such as a friend or a family member's home or potentially one of these safe havens. Know your family's emergency plan and make sure that it includes securing loose items in your yard. So a lot of us have things that are out in our yards right now. Some of us are rebuilding again related to Hurricane Ian. Try and secure those sites right now so that they don't become flying missiles in the event that we do see tropical storm force winds. We've gotten a lot of questions about our bridges. We've been asked about 2 of the projects specifically. The Florida Department of Transportation is working on both the Sanibel Causeway and the Matlacha Bridge after Hurricane Ian. Projects on the Sanibel Causeway and Matlacha Bridge are secured right now. Contractors are mobilized, and they will be monitoring those sites, and they will immediately inspect those bridges after the storm passes. Lee County does not literally close bridges by placing barricades in front of them or cones or gates or anything like that, as those could become flying missiles in the events of really high winds. So Lee County actually strongly advises drivers to just stay away from those bridges if the winds start to get over 40 miles per hour. And you'll learn that by watching your local TV news. They're going to be on the air telling you what the winds are and how things are progressing as this storm passes by our coast. At those speeds, wind gusts could already be much higher than 40 miles an hour, and winds become stronger at higher elevations. So dangers increase on higher bridges and elevated roadways. Drivers may encounter law enforcement officers at those bridges during severe weather events. But we do also know that if the winds get high enough, law enforcement will even come off of the roads. We encourage residents to follow our Lee County social media channels and to visit our storm website. That website is www.leegov.com/storm. There's all sorts of great information on there. Now's the time to start thinking through all your contingencies in your head, especially if you live in one of those evacuation zones like Zone A or Zone B that are always called first. If you live in those zones, you really have a responsibility right now to figure out where you would go if an evacuation were called for. Again, we're not calling for any right now, and we don't anticipate calling for any, but if the forecast changes, you're going to need to know where you're going to go quickly. We will be providing another update to you at 5:30 p.m. tonight. In this update, it's going to include the information about the safe havens and any other updates that we'll have for you, such as any operational adjustments about like whether trash will be picked up or things like that. At this time, we know the Board of County Commissioners workshop that we had planned for 1:30 tomorrow is canceled. So don't come to that 1:30 workshop tomorrow in downtown Fort Myers. It could be a little windy and gusty at that point, and we've canceled the workshop. According to forecasts, the earliest that we may feel tropical storm-related impacts is between 8 and 9 a.m. tomorrow, Tuesday morning, with Tuesday midday likely being the biggest part of the tropical storm force impacts. So stick with your plan. If you need help figuring out that plan, again, go to leegov.com/storm. We've got great information on there for you. And know that we will be back to keep you updated as this storm goes by Lee County. We'll see you at 5:30 p.m. in this briefing room. Thanks.